Well, welcome back to Business Asset Protection, where today we're having a look at the Bankruptcy Act. This is part 4 of our series. Today we're looking at Section 40 in brackets 1 in brackets C, and different ways that a person might try to defeat or delay his or her creditors. So, come and join us. Okay, well, here we are in Section 40 in brackets 1 in brackets C, and we're looking at a debtor commits an act of bankruptcy in each of the following. So they're all equal, okay? So if someone gives you a bankruptcy notice for $100 billion and you don't pay it, well, that is equal to one act of bankruptcy. Section 40 in brackets 1 in brackets C, a debtor commits an act of bankruptcy in each of the following cases. We'll see as if with intent to defeat or delay his or her creditors. Well, let's have a look at this very closely. So if, so that's the question, if with intent to defeat or delay his or her creditors. Okay, so let's have a really close look at this. That's Section 41C. If with intent to defeat, which is final, or to delay, which just means it can only be temporary, it only has to be slight, his or her creditors, in brackets 1, he or she departs or remains from Australia. So if you've departed, well, that may be an event of bankruptcy. Now, it doesn't automatically follow, but there are some instances. So you depart Australia or you remain out of Australia, and it comes down to with intent to delay or defeat his or her creditors. So again, it's not automatic. 2, he or she departs from his or her dwelling or usual house or place of business. So we're going to maybe actually have a quick look at some of this actual case law, and we'll see what it says. 3, he or she otherwise absents himself or herself. So that can be, from Australia. It could be from, Bondi, if that's where you depart, and you just go missing. Or number 4, if he or she begins to keep house. Again, it doesn't have to be permanent, but that in itself, just the beginning to keep house, can, if with intent to defeat or delay his or her creditors, he or she departs or remains out of Australia. He or she departs from his or her dwelling, house, or usual place of business. Or, so he or she departs his or her dwelling, or usual place of business. So, in other words, you do a runner. All right, well, I'm just going to refer a little bit to this book that I'm reading, and I think it's really, it's quite complex. It's a little bit technical, but I think if you'll allow me to just refer to this book, I think you'll get a little bit out of it. What does it mean, and what happens in these circumstances if one of these 4 tests is present? That they've departed or remain out of Australia, departed from his or her home or usual place of business, as absenting himself or herself, or beginning to keep house. That is, to remain in one's house. Now, this is what keeping house means. It means to remain in one's house and refusing entry to others to serve a process. So, just that in itself could easily be enough. It's not guaranteed. You've got the COVID virus and you've been told to quarantine. That would be a perfect excuse. If you've got cold or flu-like symptoms, that too might be a reason temporarily to keep house. The onus is on, yes, so the creditor, the person that's trying to bankrupt, has the onus to establish that the debtor's intent is to delay or defeat. Okay, so it does not necessarily have to be the sole intent. If it's like a collateral intent, that may well be enough. This can be proved directly through the use of statements. So, for instance, Ralph wants to come back. He's choosing to be away. These inferences that can be drawn, use of statements by the debtor or indirectly. Thanks, John. By inference, by proving the existence of circumstances which must necessarily cause delay, and which the debtor must be presumed to have foreseen or intended or intended as a necessary result of what he or she was doing. So we could talk through some examples of this. Defeating or delaying a creditor need not be the debtor's sole intent in leaving Australia or remaining out of Australia. Now, these cases were pre-COVID, so again, there's probably some argument to say, well, I'm remaining out of Australia because it's impossible to get back, or I'd have to do 2 weeks quarantine. Like, there may be there's some grey here, so possibly. So it need not be the sole intent, as long as it's an intent. It's not enough to simply show that the debtor's conduct has caused delay. Like, it has to be intention of delaying or defeating. So it's a bit technical. If you're either in one of these two situations, you're the debtor and you'd like, to talk through some of the options. We've got a pre-insolvency. We've got pre-insolvency work, and we can do this same work for the creditor. So we can talk through and give you some advice on pre-insolvency issues with quite a bit of precision. These things can be the absence. Yes, they can be an ongoing event of bankruptcy. So it need not. It could have started 10 years ago. If a person's remaining out of Australia because they know the moment they step back in the country, something's going to happen, well, that in itself may be an event. So they can be an ongoing, or there's a continuation. These are continuing acts of bankruptcy. So we're going to look at some of the other bits of the Act gradually throughout the series. There's a time element in many of these. So these can be an ongoing act. And if you want to have a read of some of the case law, you make contact with me. Use our chat tools in dcpartners.solutions, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. There's a chat tool. So join us there. So there is some case law. If you want some general advice, now if you've got someone that's in this position where they're keeping house, they are absent from Australia, they're remaining outside of Australia, all these kinds of issues, they've done a runner from their usual house. They're not telling you where they are. They're not answering the phone. They are answering the phone, but they won't tell you. They won't. Some of these, actually, Matthew Taunton, there you go, refused to give us. Now, this is a guy we're going to mention, and he's one of our villains. So you will find out. He's not there yet, but he's going onto our blog. I promise you he's going there. So look, these are some of the cases. There's technical, as I said. You want to talk through some of the different details, give us a call, 1300 327 123. If you're in one of these positions and you need money, but maybe you've got a temporary problem, well, we might still be able to help you. 1300 327 123. We've got tax debt type facilities, if you've got a tax problem. And maybe you're in that position where you've got the financial difficulty. We possibly can help you on either side of the fence, the debtor's side or the creditor's side. So give us a call, 1300 327 123. Got any questions? You can instant chat with us anytime. dcpartners.solutions, bottom right-hand corner, use the chat tools. Thanks very much. Bye.